there in Nostalgia Land. I'm Chuck Schaden, and in the next hour we're going to be talking about Art Deco. No, that's not a person. That's a, I guess that's a movement. That's an architectural style. That's a big part of everybody's life, whether they know it or not. We have a very special guest in the studio. We'll be talking with Lynn Abbey of the Art Deco Society, the Chicago Art Deco Society, and we're going to have some slides, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking about a very interesting subject, and I hope you'll stick around. It all begins in just 1 minute. Don't touch that channel.
Smart shoppers, get ready for spectacular savings. Bring your truck or wagon to Townhouse TV and Appliances Warehouse and grab a bargain.
We're clearing out our warehouse for huge new shipments of merchandise.
That means everything you see in factory crates, major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos will be sacrificed.
This week, look for super savings on GE appliances, including GE refrigerators.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it, I'll take it.
The home of your family's dreams is just around the corner with an affordable mortgage loan from Cragen Federal Savings. Cragen Federal offers a wide range of adjustable mortgage plans, so you'll find one to suit today's budget and your budget years from today. Make your family's dream home a reality. Call Cragen Federal now at 889-3230. Cragen Federal Savings, over $1.8 billion strong.
Art Deco is all around us, but with us on this edition of Nostalgia is the president of the Chicago Art Deco Society, Lynn Abbey. And Lynn, we're delighted to have you with us today, and we're happy to know that you are keeping the interest alive in Art Deco.
I hope so, and thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Now, the first question I have to ask is, what exactly is Art Deco?
I don't like to be exact, but I will tell you approximately what it is because the art historians haven't really agreed yet. It's being redefined and refined all the time. The term Art Deco was first used in the late 60s when Bevis Hillier decided to tack that term on what was widely seen everywhere in clothing, in the cinema, even on radio in the 30s. There was such a thing really as Deco radio, and we had it here with the golden age of radio in Chicago. But it's a movement that we can see all around us in our architecture. The buildings of the 20s and 30s in Chicago are precious to me because it's a time in my life that I remember, and it's a time in my life that connects with everything, just everything. As you say, it is all around us, but most people aren't aware that it's all around us. And it's fun to go out, and it's cheap if you don't want to collect collectibles. It's a fun way of enjoying, and a cheap way of enjoying the period of enjoying Art Deco, knowing something about buildings.
Now, but it's not only confined to architecture.
Correct.
A building may have what is called Art Deco on the outside, on the facade of the building, but inside there may be a room decorated with maybe four gray walls.
An interior designer may want to do that, or the building itself may be Art Deco, and the interior may be contemporary, which is also related to Art Deco, or it might be period. I have a friend in Oak Park who decorated a very plain building. It wasn't distinctive in any way, but decided he loved Deco, and he did some of the exterior with Deco elements, and his entire office is now Art Deco.
Now, I would say the best description of interior decoration or interior design as Art Deco would be any Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers movie.
Oh, you've got it. You know it. You understand it. Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Ginger Rogers dressing table.
You've got it.
With the big round mirror.
Absolutely.
On it,
right?
And sometimes they have radios, radio receivers. I've seen them with a blue mirror glass on
it. Yes. In fact, most of the radios that we think of that move from, well, the big console radios, and some of the furniture even looked like the big console radios, and eventually those radios moved into the kitchen with those little numbers, and that's when they became accessible, which was, in terms of money, which was very important in the 30s during the Depression. So that big dining room console or living room console did move into the kitchen.
Now, living room sets, too, would be considered Art Deco.
Absolutely.
What period of time in the U.S., contemporary U.S. history would we be?
30s especially, and we had our own way of interpreting that. We have our own way and our own designers that were working in that idiom, that modern idiom. In fact, sometimes called modern. That term has become interchangeable. There have been a lot of arguments among historians as to how we should designate modern, and if indeed it should be called modern and separated from the Deco, but it's part and parcel of the same thing.
Well, I figured the difference between modern and modern has got to be a couple $1,000s, right?
I think you've got it again.
Now, there was also a movement in the Art Deco area that we would consider clothing and accessories,
yes,
right? Would that be? Now, what would be, again, Fred Astaire with his white tie, tails and
that's the
cane?
Quintessential Deco man.
But and what would a woman wear? What Ginger was wearing?
Jean Harlow, Ginger Rogers, the slinky silk things. I could tick off a few of the designers that were designing in that period. Adrian in Hollywood, of course, and we're thinking of him with the big shoulders and the Joan Crawford look. But I'm thinking more of European designers that were copied here. Paul Poiret is one with the slinky look, the satin long and low backs or no backs or V backs, which are all coming back again and very, very stylish. And the satin shoes and the rhinestones and the luscious fox furs, voluminous fox furs and that kind of thing, and maybe a little calot or a little tam, something like that, and veils. And then, of course, 20s, we know about the flapper and that short
Betty Boop
look.
would be Art Deco.
Betty Boop is indeed Art Deco. We have a member who is a Betty Boop buff and asked us the other day to send her a card for Betty Boop. She thinks of Betty as her child or as a relative. Betty Boop is of the 30s and is Deco. The Fleischmann cartoon is certainly Deco.
Now, you brought along a, I guess I, as a man, would call it a purse. You would call it a handbag.
Sure, purse, handbag.
And this is a good example of Art Deco clothing accessories, correct?
Yes.
This is, now describe this.
And I'm going to tell you why this connects with other things too. We talk about architecture. The embellishment that you see on this purse is very similar to what you might find on some buildings. This classic geometric motif. Then there's a more curvilinear motif in here. This is all beaded, steel beads, beautiful blues. This belonged to my mommy. And this fan motif is also seen on architecture, not only on this beaded bag. And this has a little gizmo here that is a lever and releases it. This is the original lining. I had to restring it. I was humiliated and embarrassed when it fell apart on me after I bragged about how well things used to be made. And the thread, of course, rotted. It is now on nylon, and the frame has little holes in it.
This was not yours originally?
Never. I never saw it. I don't remember my mother using it, but it was hers. And I found it in one of the drawers when we cleaned up her home and sold her home 2 years ago. But one of my favorite, very favorite things, it's still the prettiest bag I think I have ever seen. And I did wear it to one of our Deco parties. Beautiful iridescent blue here.
Yeah, it's really nice. Would you, would the person who, would the flapper maybe, who had that, would she carry her Mad Money in that bag?
Probably. And also compact, and also cosmetics. Cosmetics only came into common usage in this period too. Up until then, you were considered fast. That's a good Deco word.
Fast?
You were considered fast if you wore makeup. And I remember starting out with Tangy lipstick. And you couldn't see it. It had an interesting fragrance. You would probably have a Tangy lipstick, or if you were more sophisticated and older, you could have something with color in it.
Now this,
and this is a compact.
A compact?
It's an Elgin compact, and Elgin makes jewelry and watches, and it made those beautiful compacts. That's a recent acquisition of mine, yes. And shiny is popular in this day and age, but shiny was not a good idea in the 20s and 30s. You had to have a matte finish on your face, and you did use the powder or Max Factor, that pancake business. But the compacts were popular. And some of the compacts like that had Mad Money. You talked about Mad Money. Some of the compacts had little spaces for Mad Money. You could fold up a dollar bill or put some change in.
And you could get a long way on that dollar bill back
in those days. Yes, yes, indeed. That's right.
Now, Is this tie that I'm wearing, is that Art Deco? I thought because we're talking about Art Deco today, I'd wear the closest thing that I have. It's a paisley tie. I guess it's a modern tie today again. It's come back like everything.
Paisley is a classic thing, and it's out of India. But it's very curvilinear and would fit more into Art Nouveau, which was a little earlier than Deco. And some of the developments that were taking place in design were taking place I say at parallel times. They were all happening at the same time, but Nouveau did come first, and that's the curvilinear thing. Louis Sullivan, we're talking architects again, did curvilinear embellishments for places like Carson Pirie Scott. And what you have is classic and forever, but it is not Deco.
Oh, gee. I should take it off then.
No.
Now,
it's beautiful.
We talk about Art Deco in all these different areas, and we talk about Art Deco people, and Fred Astaire is, as you said. Is there anybody today in the contemporary world around us who is the epitome of Art Deco, who says, hey, I want to dress in that period of time, I like that?
I think there is a lot of kitchen junk and people who love that kind of thing, think they're dressing Deco, and some of it, I know collectors. I know Barbara Streisand is a famous person who loves Deco and collects Deco, and she is just one of many. She has an apartment in New York that is Deco, and some of her rooms, I understand, in California are Deco. And Bette Midler likes to do a lot of things that are of the kind of kitschy Deco, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head whom I would say at this point is a Deco person. I think it might have ended with Fred Astaire.
It might. Well, a lot of eras ended with Fred Astaire.
Yes.
We're talking about the Art Deco era today with our guest Lynn Abbey, who is the president of the Chicago Art Deco Society. And Lynn has brought a great deal of slides along with her so that we can look at many experiences that she has had in the field of Art Deco. We're going to see examples of Art Deco that's all around us in Chicago, and we're going to pick up on that in just a minute or so. So I'm glad you came along. You stick around, you won't be disappointed.
No matter what your reasons for saving, Cragen Federal has a savings account just for you. From conveniently accessible accounts like the insured money market or regular passbook to a range of 8 CDs of varying terms and interest rates. And with any of them, you're sure to get a highly competitive rate. So whether you're saving for something big or small, short-term or long, Cragen can help you achieve your savings goals. Call Cragen Federal today at 889-1000.
Smart shoppers, get ready for spectacular savings. Bring your truck or wagon to Townhouse TV and Appliances Warehouse and grab a bargain.
We're clearing out our warehouse for huge new shipments of merchandise.
That means everything you see in factory crates, major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos will be sacrificed. This week, save on Zenith color TVs and Zenith video recorders.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it.
We're at the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Here, a trackload of railroad cabooses have been restored on the outside and remodeled on the inside. Deluxe accommodations for rest and relaxation in beautiful Lake Geneva, just 90 minutes from Chicago. Each caboose has a double bed and a sleeper sofa, and each is an individual unit. You'll spend the night in your very own caboose. Plan now for a couple of days of fun that start with the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. 414-248-RAIL.
Art Deco is the subject today of this edition of Nostalgia, and as I said earlier, Fred Astaire is the epitome of Art Deco, and Ginger Rogers' dressing room would certainly be that. In my experience, that cathedral radio or the Zenith console radio with a flickering green eye, that certainly would represent, to my mind, the Art Deco period. And Lynn Abbey, who is the president of the Chicago Art Deco Society, is with us this time on Nostalgia. And Lynn, we said earlier that Art Deco is all around us, and you have been capturing what surrounds us, that which surrounds us for many years now. You've brought a bunch of slides with, didn't you? Let's take a look at some of them.
All right.
This first slide is, gee, that looks like a bellman.
It certainly does. With that little cap, with the one eye, very stylized. That's typical of the stylized artwork. This is a piece of terrazzo that was on the verge of being destroyed right in front of the Adelphi Theater, which is now called the Nortown Theater. So many people were entranced with this after they saw my slide that they have gone back there to photograph that. This and the terracotta, not terracotta, the terrazzo within the lobby, inside the lobby, are part of Alistair Duncan's new American Deco book. And he discovered this through this particular slide that you're looking at. Yes.
Is this on the floor?
Yes, it's right on the sidewalk. That's part of the sidewalk in front of the theater. And then, as I say, some other stuff inside the theater. Now, I talked about Tangy lipstick. Well, there we have the dime store stuff that was so wonderful. And this brings to mind my favorite dime store, which was in my neighborhood on the northwest side, the Irving Park F.W. Woolworth, and it's still there.
Everybody had a favorite Woolworth. Now,
I think
is this
so.
some of the stuff we'd find in Woolworth?
This is some of the stuff you'd find, and I still think the quality of junk you would buy in those days was better than what you can find now in the Woolworths or Woolco's or...
The quality of junk was better then than
I
it is
think
now.
so.
Is that a skate key on the top there?
I do think so, yes.
Now,
and the
would that
plastic bracelets, yes.
Would that be considered Art Deco, a skate key?
Not really, but it's from that period when kids had keys for their skates. This is part of the Century of Progress. People don't know this too either, but it is the Adler Planetarium, and that was indeed there during the 1933-34 Century of Progress. And much of what was in the Century of Progress, of course, was Deco. This is there to last, and it's typical of Deco architecture in that it has a very highly polished granite. That's probably rainbow granite or gneiss that we see at the base. And then those wonderful stylized symbols of the zodiac. The Capricorn, I think, is what we're looking at. The 12 of those go around. That's by Alfonso Iannelli. He did all those wonderful signs of the zodiac around there. The fluting is also typical of the Deco architecture. Quite elegant.
Deco,
And this indeed is an exhibition area, right? And I like to include this because I think Edgar Miller is my favorite living person, who was an internationally known artist who had something that was very risque at the time in this. This was a very risque exhibition. It wouldn't be to our way of thinking now. I did not attend this, but I had heard about it. It was a no-no. You were not supposed to go there. It was for adults only. It would be like R-rated now.
This is not where Sally Rand...
this indeed is where Sally Rand did her fans. Meet Me in Paris.
Yes.
And Edgar Miller had, I'm showing this because it's a Deco interior. A friend of mine had a condominium unit on Wells Street. This is one of the Edgar Miller pieces within that condominium.
Now, what did they do? They changed the window and put this in?
Well, Edgar did this, yes. And some of the material he used were scraps from the Century of Progress. But that is a gorgeous cathedral window. He handled space so beautifully. It's a very small apartment unit within that building. This is another example of the work of Edgar Miller, and you see 1927. This is a very famous home. It's owned by a friend of mine, Mark Mamelin, and it is the Sol Kogan Studios, erected, as you see, in 1927. I should say something about that typeface. That's typical Deco typeface. It's called Broadway. This is Broadway style, engraved.
Right, Is this, whereabouts, not specifically, but generally, where is this in Chicago?
155 Burton, and you will see a sign, I think, that says, well, that little,
155,
mosaic there is 155, and it is Burton Place.
I see.
And there it is. Yes, this is in a photo show I have at the Neo-Deco Gallery. It's my homage to Edgar. Everything he did was just pure genius. He could do everything from watercolors to oil painting. And here we have the sidewalk, which is like a beautiful piece of artwork done as his quilt.
This is at 155 again,
Right, at 155 West Burton. And you can't see Edgar here because I took this without telling him to move, and his stained glass is just exquisite. Deco triangles and so on, and there is Edgar with some of his terracotta work.
Now, terracotta is this...
is the clay.
The threshold, or
yes, that arch, again, with the fluting, and those doves are his. He is an absolute genius. There's the Adelphi Theater we mentioned that is now the Nortown And you see the Deco-looking little ticket booths in front, too, and the windows, which were circular, almost like porthole. That is a period of architecture that is sometimes called nautical deco, where you get the feeling of steamship and technology. This is very... stop me if I'm talking too much.
Go ahead. Oh, that's why you're here.
Okay.
What is this bridge now?
This is the Ashland Bridge, and it's from the period, from the late 30s. It is very neglected, as you can see. It's on Ashland near Clybourne and Cortland. I think it's nearer Clybourne.
And
the
why
bridge
is this
houses,
considered Art Deco?
well, take a look at the lights.
Oh, the lights, I see.
If you look at the bridge houses, they're a very clean statement, a very upright statement. And were we to look closer at those bridge houses, we would see that they have really quite fine panels of artwork, low relief sculpture.
That's really an interesting bridge there. And it's exactly, where is it?
Ashland and Clybourne.
Ashland and Clybourne.
And people go by it every day and don't notice these wonderful panels. It's the most unnoticed, unappreciated example of deco, and there are many of them throughout the city.
Well, you've got plenty of them to show us.
Yes, yes, I have, and I shall.
We're going to take a little bit of a break and then come back.
Surely.
We're talking with Lynn Abbey, who is the president of the Chicago Art Deco Society. We're getting a little bit of look at the Art Deco history of Chicago. And if you stick around, you'll get a little more of that look at it. So don't touch that channel.
Smart shoppers, get ready for spectacular savings. Bring your truck or wagon to Townhouse TV and Appliances Warehouse and grab a bargain.
We're clearing out our warehouse for huge new shipments of merchandise.
That means everything you see in factory crates, major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos will be sacrificed. This week, look for super savings on Maytag washers and Maytag gas dryers.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
The Mysterious Traveler.
The Jimmy Durante Show.
X, minus, one.
Fibber McGee and Molly. The Amos and Andy Show.
Suspense.
Town Hall Tonight. Philco Radio Time.
The Tom Mix Ralston Straight Shooters.
The Guiding Light. Can you top this?
Tom Corbett. Space Cadet.
Henry Aldrich. Coming, Mother.
True Detective Mysteries.
You'll find a generous helping of memories from and about the good old days at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago. We have a complete selection of records and cassette tapes from the fabulous big band era, plus thousands of personality recordings by your favorite singers. We offer a gigantic collection of books about the movies and the stars from those wonderful days of not so long ago. At Metro Golden Memories, you'll find a marvelous collection of celebrity statues, plus our famous Maltese Falcon replica, the Oscar look-alike, even Little Nipper, the RCA dog. Hundreds of old-time radio shows on record and tape. And lots of books about radio and television, too. Posters of your favorite movies and movie stars. And videotapes of the classic films from Hollywood's golden age. Hundreds in stock for sale or rent. All this and more at Metro Golden Memories, 5425 West Addison Street, just 2 miles west of the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday from noon to 5. Come in and browse.
Good.
The city of Chicago.
We're talking with Lynn Abbey about a style of architecture, a style of clothing, a style called Art Deco. Lynn, these are great slides that you've brought along. Did you take most of these slides yourself?
I think all but 2 are mine, and I will tell you when they're not mine. Almost all of them are mine. They're just 2. One is by Randy Juster, and one is from a student of mine, but the rest are all mine. I've been doing this for... Yes, I taught the history of Art Deco as a continuing ed class at Triton and at Loyola University. And I like to turn people on, and here's a good example of what I try to turn people on to, because it's deteriorating and nobody seems to care. And if I could turn people on to caring about this, I'm sure that it wouldn't be in the condition it is, and it certainly wouldn't be ready for the records ball. It's a delightfully interesting, unusual lighting element, as you can see. You don't see too many like those around anymore or
now,
anywhere.
This vertical pillar, that's a light?
Well,
is that the pillar?
the light is affixed to that pillar, but that pillar looks like something that came right out of the century of progress, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
And in order to have a continuation or a continuum with our kids and with the past, I think you need these things to remind us that we didn't spring full-grown from 1987.
What is this? Where is this?
This,
now?
again, is part of that bridge. It's the bridge lighting for the Ashland Avenue Bridge. The City of Chicago has very little information on it. Our next newsletter will feature a figure from this. There are figures on the bridge house, low-relief sculptures. I call my bridge family. I call them my bridge people. There are 4 different panels, and we'll see all of them. Here's another shot of that bridge and the bridge house. This was taken during the cold weather in January. This was taken January this year.
You can see that...
and there it is again, and there's that bridge house.
Now the bridge, of course, is being used, right?
Absolutely, every day, and people just go through it and ignore what's there.
Well,
but of course, that's what...
do people really know about... Would they know to look at that?
No,
I mean, they would walk by it and
they
see
will
it and say,
now.
"Gee, that's nice."
After they've seen your show, they will.
But I mean, people aren't really walking around saying, "This is Art Deco. This is contemporary."
No, they aren't.
This is this.
They aren't. No.
But one has a feeling of interest in what's around them.
Yes, they will. It's perfectly beautiful, understated. It's the beginning of what we would call international design, and it has its origins in movements that were going on in Europe. It's beautiful. It's not overly decorated, even though some of the stuff is very flamboyant and over-decorated. But here's an example. This is also part of that bridge system on Ashland Avenue. And it's beautiful, but it's not barren and sterile the way some contemporary things are. The proportions are beautiful, the design is beautiful, but it's simple. It's understated. And again, that's the same thing I'll say about this particular slide. That ironwork is beautiful.
Very
in
unusual,
terms of design. It's not boring, it's not sterile, and yet it's understated.
Yeah, and it does the job, too.
And there is one of the bridge ladies, one of my bridge people. Again, you're not going to notice this unless you look for it. This is a photo that's in a show that I have on exhibition right now at the Deco Gallery. I call her the nurturer, and she is Chicago, because Chicago does nurture the world. We have the grain market here, and it is often said that we control the price of grain, the price of bread throughout the world over on LaSalle Street, and there is the nurturer.
There she is.
And she's her holding, embracing the world, Chicago and the world, and stylized, has some of the typical Deco elements, that radiation line that you see coming from the globe itself, and then the symbolism, of course. But I call her my Chicago nurturer, and she is on the bridge house.
How far back does this go?
I would estimate late 30s, probably executed much earlier than that, but put in place. The Department of Streets and Sanitation tells us that it was about 1939, but this was executed much earlier, certainly inspired by the World's Fair. Notice the Zeppelin on this one. I call this one Guardian, Chicago semicolon Guardian. And you see how he's guarding the building, and there again you have those motifs, the Zeppelin or the dirigible, considered a very good way of transportation until the Hindenburg disaster.
Is this the same place now?
This is the same place. This is the second one of my bridge people. And again, I've given them all names. This one is Guardian.
And these are your names now?
These are my names. The city didn't give them that, but I feel so related to them. They're like cartoon strips. They look like something that might have been in the cartoons in the 30s. And I call this one Architect and Builder, Chicago semicolon Architect and Builder. And notice a woman, but nevertheless, she is the builder.
I see,
and she is the architect. And this is the first time this has ever been seen on television. Again, you have this stylized Deco with the radiant elements coming from the bridge she's holding and so forth, and the instruments used by the contractor or architect and builder, hence builder. And Chicago is the architectural center of the world.
All of these that we've just seen, the sculptures that you've named, not a sculpture, I guess.
Yes, they are. They're sculpture. They're low relief. You're right.
Okay. They're all right here.
Right here.
Under our noses, so to speak.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
But now, again, you say they're ignored.
People
In
don't know
what
they're
direction
there.
are they ignored, you know?
People don't care. They don't know that they're there, first of all, but now they do. They've
Well,
seen
but
them
somebody
here.
walking across the bridge, for example,
May or may not see them.
may or may not see them.
If they're looking for them now, they will see them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, these are things that are around us all over the place. I mean, I suppose you could go to an intersection in Chicago. Let's just take Austin and Irving Park Road. Now, I happen to know that the Patio Theater is right at that intersection.
Yes, I know it well.
And there's a couple of other buildings around there. Now, we look at those and we say, oh, that's an old theater. And it's an old building, and now it's a drugstore, and it was something else, and blah, blah, blah. But yet there is an architectural history on those.
And you have fun looking at that and researching it, and the more you know, the more you want to know. And it's, as I said, it's a wonderful way to enjoy history and Art Deco, and it doesn't cost you anything, and it's fun. And
What's this now? Where is
this is part of the bridge lighting system. The outer drive has fantastically beautiful. This is very plain again, understated. It's not one of my favorites, but it is Deco, and to me it looks like soldiers parading and guarding our outer drive. This is around Montrose Beach. And there are a series of them from the North Shore up through, well, not the North Shore, but north in Chicago, all the way to the park on the south side, all the way through Jackson Park. This is Montrose.
Would you say that those hidden concrete dividers that are in the outer drive, would that be ugly Art Deco?
I think it's ugly and dangerous. It's not Art Deco, it's just construction. But this is was one of my favorites, I should say. What we're looking at is part of the famous building, the Mies van der Rohe spin-off. It's Lake Point Tower. But what I want to show you are those wonderful bridge lights and that area. Again, typical Deco. This is the ironwork on that bridge. It's sometimes called the Link Bridge. It's the bridge across the street from Lake Point Tower, and on the other side is the Kraft Building. A good example of understated Deco on that particular bridge, too, with the geometric designs and the interesting little openings there in that square shape.
Now, you mentioned the Kraft Building. That's the old Kraft Building on Peshtigo Court, I think.
You're right, exactly.
That is a fantastic example of Art Deco.
You're right.
I don't think you can go by that without appreciating the
signage.
style. And they used to have the word Kraft used to be up there in Broadway typeface.
You know that too. That's in the show, and I did record that before the Kraft letters were taken down. I have a documentation of that on my colored film from this, and I've Cibachromed it for the show. But you're absolutely right. You know more than you think you know.
Well, I just know certain things that I enjoy.
Well, see, they appeal to you, and this appeals to me, and that to me was the most successful one, and yet because it's not there anymore, people say it was not all that important. I think it was important, it is important, and it is beautiful. To me, this is a beautiful fixture on the Lakeshore Drive.
A lot of it is more important just because we're talking about it and we get to know about it, so it becomes that way.
In terms of history, too, FDR gave an important anti-fascist speech at that site. So it is important, and the obelisk and the concrete work is also very beautiful. They work very beautifully together, that design. And it's an anonymous design. Some very fine architects working for the city designed it, and as far as we know, they're lost. We don't know who they are. It might have been a collaborative effort, but they were beautiful, and I consider them city treasures.
We're hopscotching the city today with Lynn Abbey, our guest from the Chicago Art Deco Society. Hope you're enjoying this little tour, and we'll be back in just a moment. Don't touch that channel.
In 1909, the first Cragen Federal Savings Office opened on Chicago's northwest side. Through the years, Cragen has been serving northwest Chicagoland with dedication, efficiency, and friendliness. In good times and bad, assets have grown each and every year. Today, Cragen Federal stands as the 6th largest in Illinois, with assets of over $1.8 billion and reserves of more than $115 million. Cragen Federal Savings, financial strength and prudence since 1909.
Smart shoppers, get ready for spectacular savings. Bring your truck or wagon to Townhouse TV and Appliances Warehouse and grab a bargain.
We're clearing out our warehouse for huge new shipments of merchandise.
That means everything you see in factory crates, major appliances, color TVs, VCRs, and stereos will be sacrificed. This week, save on Admiral's ice cream making a la mode refrigerators.
Come to the superstore, townhouse TV and appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
We're at the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Here, a trackload of railroad cabooses have been restored on the outside and remodeled on the inside. Deluxe accommodations for rest and relaxation in beautiful Lake Geneva, just 90 minutes from Chicago. Each caboose has a double bed and a sleeper sofa, and each is an individual unit. You'll spend the night in your very own caboose. Plan now for a couple of days of fun that start with the end-of-the-line Caboose Motel in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. 414-248-RAIL.
So we're set. Art Deco is the subject of this edition of Nostalgia. Our guest is Lynn Abbey, who is the president of the Chicago Art Deco Society. Lynn, the Chicago Art Deco Society has been in existence for how long?
4 years.
For 4 years?
Yes.
And this is something you have started and developed?
Pretty much.
You're the founding person?
Yes,
mother?
right.
And what does the society do?
Well, we're primarily interested in preservation. We're primarily interested in fellowship with people who have an interest in that era, whether it's architecture or collecting or furniture, interior design, or just a liking to reminisce. We have one program called Show and Tell where we share experiences and share our collectibles and our little treasures. So it's essentially, I would say, a preservation organization interested in the protection of the Art Deco around us and instilling an education and an interest in some things that were not considered all that wonderful in previous years. There are many people who still think that they don't care for Art Deco, but it is around us, and it's there to be enjoyed, and it's it's part of the continuum with our own national history, our own local history, and I have immersed myself in it, and I'm part of that period also.
Well, you're surrounded with Art Deco things, and I think you are certainly the spearhead of this organization to keep it alive. Do you have regular meetings?
We have one regular annual meeting. The others are event meetings.
Events,
And we have special programs such as walking tours. We do one fun thing a year, which is a gala. We have very fine speakers, some very fine speakers. We have people who collect things and are collection specialists. We issue a quarterly newsletter, and we feel that we have alerted the people in the city of Chicago to what is around them, and if they don't know what's around them, they cannot save anything if they don't know it's there to save.
Now, and I have a copy of the newsletter, CADS, it's called, Chicago Art Deco Society, and you say it comes out every 3 months or so.
Yes,
and
right.
You must be the editor-in-chief of this.
Well, I used to call myself the coordinator. I realized I am the editor, and so in the next issue will be called an editor, right?
Well, there's a lot of good information in this publication, and it becomes part of the membership.
Yes.
Now, membership, first of all, who can join, and how much does it cost?
Anyone interested in the period, anyone interested in architecture, anyone interested in the fellowship that is engendered from all these things is welcome to join. The dues are modest. May I say what they are?
Certainly, of course.
Individual is only $15, and that includes all the events that we have. Usually our events are not extra except for our gala, and that includes those activities, plus the newsletter and the communion with other people that you might want to be put in touch with in terms of collecting, etc.
Now, if someone wants to either to join or to get more information, they can write to you.
Absolutely.
Lynn Abbey, and the address?
823 Lake.
823 Lake.
Yes, Oak Park, Illinois, 60301.
And that's the Chicago Art Deco Society?
Correct. Also known as CADS.
CADS, right.
But we're very nice people. We're not CADS.
CADS, caddies, Cadillacs. In the 50s, the Cadillacs could have looked at Art Deco, couldn't they?
That's right.
Couldn't they?
The Packard and the Cord were very Art Deco in the best sense.
That's right. Now, one of the things you said that you do in the in CADs is to try to preserve from destruction something
Yes.
that is from this period of time, this
Right.
Art Deco. And you brought a slide of something just like that. Now we have, this is again a bridge scene, correct?
Right, it's the bridge light on the outer drive,
Okay.
Lakeshore Drive, around Peshtico Court.
Right, by the Kraft building, the
That's
former
correct,
Kraft building.
yes.
Now, you had some problems with this.
We had some problems
Oh,
indeed.
boy.
It's not there anymore. This is what happened. We were assured that they were there in perpetuity and that they would be saved. This was not the case, and this is what happened.
Well, why did that happen? Why did they? Why would someone tear that down? Replace it with something?
Well, the idea was that they were straightening out the S-curve, and that they would be replaced and that they would go back up again. And I do think the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. I don't think the people in the upper hierarchy intended for that to happen, but somewhere
It got lost
at the lower level it did indeed. And we've lost some other things too. This is
What is this now?
This is the interior of the Chicago Motor Club building.
Is that on Water Street?
That's on South Water,
South
correct.
Water,
And the exterior is exquisite. The interior is still very fine, but these lights you will never see again because they have been taken down and replaced with some nondescript things.
Well, where did they go? Or don't we know?
Again, we've been assured that they're there. They're holding them somewhere for future use, but I wouldn't hold my breath to see them restored. And however, that building is beautifully maintained, and there is still some exquisite stuff there.
This is it,
Not
right?
the lights, yes, but there is plaster work and bronze work and other metal work within the building that is exquisite. And this is an example of what you would see there in the lobby.
And this?
This is also from the Chicago Motor Club. There are other people who have photographed this. Jean Nierenberg has photographed this too and had done a story for the Tribune on this. But this is my photograph, and this is also a part of the lobby in the Chicago Motor Club building.
Now that looks very clean.
Yes.
Is it clean? Do
Yes.
they maintain
yes.
it? They keep
Beautifully
it,
maintained, yes. The stationary engineer is very proud of that building, and he is very good about keeping it up. And this is a view of the building from the exterior, and you can see the wonderful lights that you will never see again. But even from the exterior, those lights played an important part in the magic of that building. Another building nearby, and there are 3 buildings in that area on Michigan Avenue. I call it my Deco Triad, or Deco Trinity. There's the 333 building, the Chicago Motor Club, which you just saw, and the Union Carbide, or Carbide and Carbon building. This is the 333 building. Remember I talked about portholes and the nautical deco look?
Yeah.
Well, that's this typical. This is the 333 building, a Halliburton root building. And then you have that Chicago window with those 3 panes.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I thought that was the Pucci building because Emil Pucci has,
Right. Well, this is
has a
just
store there.
at the south end of the Michigan Avenue
Right,
Bridge,
a
isn't
very
it?
historic
on
place.
the east side of the street.
Yes, it's part of where Fort Dearborn was, a very historic site. And again, that highly polished marble. Symbolism is very prevalent in Art Deco architecture, and here we see symbolism and the history of Chicago up here, you see. It's almost as if we were seeing a cartoon drawn of the Indians, the first settlers, and then the last panel shows how the title was cleared for the real estate developers. The Indians were literally bought off. And this is just a shot of a building that often is, I have questions about it often from people who are on tours because of the fact it's from a distance it looks gold and silver, and that's the Union Carbide building or Carbide and Carbon building on Michigan Avenue. Yes, but we're viewing it from south. Yes,
looking north, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, right. There's a treasure of Chicago history here, all told in the language of Art Deco, and I'm glad that you brought it along.
Yes,
we have still some more slides, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a little break for a little business. Not necessarily Art Deco business, but that's part of our business today. We'll be back.
Smart shoppers, get ready for spectacular savings. Bring your truck or wagon to Townhouse TV and Appliances Warehouse and grab a bargain.
We're clearing out our warehouse for huge new shipments of merchandise.
That means everything you see in factory crates, major appliances, color TVs.
This week, look for super savings on GE appliances, including GE refrigerators.
Come to the superstore, Townhouse TV and Appliances, Milwaukee and Oakton.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
You'll find a generous helping of memories from and about the good old days at Metro Golden Memories in Chicago. We have a complete selection of records and cassette tapes from the fabulous big band era, plus thousands of personality recordings by your favorite singers. We offer a gigantic collection of books about the movies and the stars from those wonderful days of not so long ago. At Metro Golden Memories, you'll find a marvelous collection of celebrity statues, plus our famous Maltese Falcon replica, the Oscar look-alike, even Little Nipper, the RCA dog. Hundreds of old-time radio shows on record and tape. And lots of books about radio and television, too. Posters of your favorite movies and movie stars. And videotapes of the classic films from Hollywood's golden age. Hundreds in stock for sale or rent. All this and more at Metro Golden Memories, 5425 West Addison Street, just 2 miles west of the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday from noon to 5. Come in and browse. Everybody has their own way of saving, which is why Cragen Federal has so many different savings plans. With our 9 different CDs, you'll have the option of varying terms and you'll receive Cragen's high rates. Or if you want instant accessibility, you can choose our insured money market or regular passbook account. Plus, when you choose a CD or open a regular passbook account, you can pick from over 30 practical gifts. Get your money working with a Cragen account that's right for the way you save.
Art Deco, once again, our subject on this edition of Nostalgia. I'm Chuck Shaden. Lynn Abbey is here. Lynn, we've had a wonderful time talking with you
Well, I certainly have. Thank you.
about this. You really are a fountain of knowledge of Art Deco. You have, I know you spend almost every waking moment
it seems that way.
This.
It's become that way. Yeah.
I can understand that. When you have a passion for something and you can't get enough of it.
It's a jealous mistress.
Yeah, once in a while you like to step away from it, but not too far, right?
Not too long.
Yeah, we're not too far from the last batch of slides that you have. And let's take a look at, boy, this is very interesting. What do we have here?
That is a part of the embellishment of the Union Carbide building, that one we saw from a distance, the black and gold so-called. It's often called New York style black and gold. Not necessarily true. This is a Burnham and Burnham building, and what we're looking at is an embellishment that I feel is quintessential design. This has been made into a Cibachrome also for the show because of the fact that you see a lot of the geometric patterns and that volute pattern that will often show up in the traditional Deco designs, such as I showed you even on my mother's purse.
Yeah.
That fountain, that volute becomes a fountain, and the triangle you can read as a chevron or you can read it as a wheat shaft, but you have all the elements there, the triangles, the repetition, and that nice little volute here. It looks almost cute and almost looks like those little spit curls that Betty Boop had.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
This is an interior shot of the same building, and I don't know how much of that wedding cake type lighting fixture you can see, but it's an interesting shot because what we're looking through is looking at something that was part of the international movement in architecture. We're looking at a Mies building through an old Deco building. We're looking at the Magnificent Mile, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe building, which is now Fujikawa, Contorado, and Lohan. I think it's just Lohan right now. The Daily News building, the exterior of the Daily News building. Again, if we could see that under section, under the clock, we would see symbolism and the story of the Indians, the Illini Indians from this area, the Winnebagos and the Chippewas and Potawatomis.
Now that clock actually would not fall under the umbrella of Art Deco.
You're right.
That's
you're
way
right.
earlier than that.
You're right, and the Roman numerals certainly wouldn't. But there is a magnificent mural on the interior of this, the Daily News building, and this is also from the Daily News building.
Above an elevator, looks.
That's right.
Yeah.
and the typical Deco things there. You see the volutes with some botanical forms, and we do have the round clock, but here you see it in its context, and it is a Deco clock.
Well, it looks
it's
more
not
like
a clock. It's that
tells you what floor you're
right,
on, right?
That's right. I correct myself.
You know,
it is
they
not
cared
a
a lot, didn't they?
That's it.
People
that's
cared
the key
in that
word.
period of time.
Beautiful workmanship.
Today it would be just blank. There's a computer printout, a digital
and
number.
it has personality. You're never going to mistake it with another building.
That's right. That's right.
This is one of the few shots that you're going to see that is not mine. This is the old Cohasset Punch Place on Madison Avenue. It was a Deco building, and this is my friend Randy Juster's slide. He wanted me to identify it, and he said keep it. But he photographed the demolition of that building.
Oh, it's gone now?
This is glazed, yes, glazed terracotta, which was also used at that time. Beautiful
it looks like a lighthouse.
That's right, the Cohasset Punch. Again, symbolism of the Deco era. Cohasset being out east, and the lighthouse signifying something from out east around Cohasset Bay. This is a far shot of the Deco building in Wicker Park. This is the Flatiron building, yes, and this is one of the few vertical shots I have of that building.
There's a Flatiron building in New York, too, isn't there?
The Flatiron building. It's not a Deco building.
This is a Flatiron building.
Right. Okay, and then again, terracotta. This is Hyde Park. We're jumping around from various neighborhoods into various neighborhoods
Looks
of
like
the
a
city.
roadster there, huh?
Yeah, isn't that neat?
Beautiful.
For many years we thought this was a sales room for automobiles. It turns out it was a garage. Your car was taken care of and pampered in this garage. Notice the stop and go lights?
Yeah, and that's right in
beautiful terracotta. That's University Bank now in Hyde Park. And an excellent example of how terracotta was used in that period. This is the Lawson Y, another overlooked piece of Deco, beautiful building. It's up for sale now, and I hope whoever buys it will make it into a hotel. It has some beautiful stuff on the interior. Another example of a gorgeous terracotta, colored. This is in Chicago. This is on Elm State, and it's a large apartment building.
So it's very well preserved.
Yes, an excellent example of colored terracotta Deco with faces. Interesting. You'll even find it on the northwest side in Graceland Cemetery. This is the Holmes Mausoleum.
Graves, huh?
Oh yes, and there are several things. I'm not going to have time to tell you about them today that are Art Deco within the cemetery. But this is a very obvious one, and it's something that if you do a tour, you will not miss. It's the Holmes Mausoleum near Burnham Island.
Interesting.
And of course, the library, the Hill Library. Excellent example of Deco. Excellent example of Bauhaus lettering. Not only the Broadway typeface, but the Bauhaus typeface was used in this. It's a little more elegant, a little different, but certainly of the period also. And same thing, same
looks like
building.
a Viking ship there.
Yes,
almost,
again, symbolism and emblems were important. That shape, the octagon shape or the lozenge shape, is also seen in Deco. Also, the use of the dentils here is a Deco use. People think of that as being classical architecture. You see that little repeat indentation at the bottom, those are dentils. And then that, what I call rippling rhythms over that, is also typical of some of the 30s Deco in our architecture. Again, same building, Hill Library, the dentils, the rippling rhythms.
That looks like a menorah, huh?
I'll bet it is. It's a symbol of the Vikings, of course. It might have had something to do with the people who use the library, because that was Andersonville, still is Andersonville. For the Jewish ethnic group, you have something for the Svenski ethnic group, and all these symbols. An interior shot of the library. Sulzer Regional has now replaced this, but it is still intact.
Was there anything Art Deco in there?
Yes, some of the...
One of the clerks. No.
You may be right, but you can't see it in this shot too well, but the metalwork, which we will see in another shot, that is certainly Deco. And there is a WPA mural in there that has recently been restored through the use of mild soap and toothbrushes, which is somewhat like the way the big library downtown was restored.
That's
another
be
shot
a big
of
project with
yes,
toothbrushes.
very careful.
Yeah,
very careful.
Very carefully, yeah.
And we have college on the north side in
Up on
Mundelein.
Sheridan Road, huh?
And you probably haven't noticed that that's Broadway typeface also, and the entire building is a tower of Deco. A very excellent example of, this is not Art Deco, but anyone who knows the growth of Art Deco must consider Frank Lloyd Wright and the Prairie School Architects. This has been removed recently, much to my chagrin.
Well, this was at the main gate at Sheridan High School.
That's right, and that was a gift from one of the classes on Addison.
Addison and Milwaukee.
That's correct. And it isn't there anymore. I don't know what they've done with it.
Has the Art Deco Society inquired about that?
I only went by there when I visited the shop, the Metro Goldwyn Memories, and that's my old neighborhood, so I'll have to inquire. I don't know what happened with it. And I only included this because it's, again, an excellent example of the precursors to Deco. The roof and the work of the Prairie School Architects. This is Dwight Persons, Dwight Perkins.
I see.
An example of his work. Also Grover Cleveland, an example of Dwight Perkins' work, which again, precursor to the straightforward buildings that we call Art Deco architecture. And another example of the wonderful design in the brickwork by Dwight Perkins. One of the best, if not the best.
These are really nice shots, and you know, the old clock on our Art Deco wall here says that our time is up.
Clock.
I thank you very much for coming along. I know you've got so many projects on the fire. You're in the process of writing a book about Art Deco. I want to be one of the first customers of that book.
Well, thank you.
If I get an autographed copy.
Indeed.
And thank you very much, Lynn,
It's been my pleasure.
for being with us today.
Thank you.
It's really a delight.
Thank you.
And I thank you, too, for coming along. It's been a pleasure to share some moments from Chicago architecture and Art Deco. I learned a lot with this and had some fun doing it, and I hope that you did too. Nostalgia takes many shapes and forms, and that's what we're all about. So I hope that you'll join us next time on Nostalgia. Thanks for watching.